I'm Ed Adams, and you're listening to the AFCA Podcast. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the AFCA Podcast. And on this episode, we talk to sports manager and producer Rich Kleiman. Now, I'll take this to the line after the break. The AFCA Podcast is sponsored by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment.
One day, the door is open for them. We believe that we have guys leaving prison today with better outcomes and more hope for the future.
Some of the toughest, meanest guys on the yard, you know, they'll tell you, I'm never going to a self-help group, but I'll play some basketball with you. Once a week, men from the outside, free men, come into prison to play basketball with convicts. It's amazing.
San Quentin Warriors, we are the other Warriors. Not the Golden State Warriors, but we like a little brother to them.
Basketball is all I've ever had. I'm not locked up, I'm not caged up, I'm not in prison. This is where I'm free.
We believe that we have guys who can come to prison and reclaim the man.
Being part of this team, it gives us a sense of purpose and togetherness.
That's what he do! Let's go!
That was taken from the trailer of the incredible 2019 documentary Cue Ball. The film told the story of the San Quentin prison basketball team and their journey to rehabilitation and redemption. Now, two people behind this film are executive producers, NBA MVP Kevin Durant, and his manager and business partner, Rich Kleiman. Now, Kleiman is not new to the entertainment business. He started out in the music industry, working with Jay-Z and RocNation, representing several artists in their portfolio, and produced his first film, the concert film Fade to Black, in 2004. Now, fast forward to 2016, Durant and Kleiman start 35 Ventures, the umbrella company for all their business interests across sports, tech, and culture. Now, you can just Google 35 Ventures and you'll see story after story of how this duo has successfully navigated in tech startups, restaurants, sports clubs, and film and television. The series The Boardroom on ESPN, the documentaries A Kid from Coney Island and Basketball County in the Water, and the aforementioned Cue Ball are just some of the projects the company has released, with several more on the way, including the film Two Distant Strangers and the series Swagger, currently in development. Now, I had a chance to speak with Rich via Zoom recently about how he got into the business, some of the lessons he's learned along the way, and about the projects he's working on at 35 Ventures. First off, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being a part of it.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So we were just talking briefly about your office space and how amazing it is. And you were saying that you're back in the office for a little bit of normalcy. Talk to me about that. How has it been for you and Kevin, not just as him being a basketball player who actually had COVID, but also keeping the business going and finding that normalcy to kind of do what you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one thing that was really evident to me, and I think a lot of my friends shared the same feelings during, the summer and during the prime of like the beginning of the pandemic, was that if you loved what you do, you felt very fortunate because it became an incredible escape for me during the pandemic. And it was something that I said to myself, you know what, the one thing I can really do to help my family and help other people is continue to be active and continue to be busy and work and stay focused. And that was both on the philanthropic side of our business as well as our business. And, it's kind of like it's a weird dynamic in the world because there were certain enterprises that were not affected by the pandemic, but actually amplified, and content and media was one of them. So from that perspective, Kevin and I were able to really like lock in, and everyone that works with us was able to really lock in and understand what it was that we were building. I think it was a good time to take a real like inventory of the business and then go after it. But I really made an effort to make sure that everyone that was working with us was thinking, you know, at the same time, like, how are we also helping out? Because it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel right, and it wasn't right. So, you know, we've been busy. And then when the season started, you know, KD had to become KD. He had to get into the phone booth.
Yeah, I feel you. I told my mom, okay, just full disclosure, Kevin Durant's my mom's favorite player. Like,
I love that.
literally.
Where's she from?
We're in Atlanta.
Okay.
And she makes me laugh because when he first came up on scene, she's like, "You see how he takes care of his mom? You see how much he loves his mom?" I'm like, "What? I don't love you?" Like,
You're like, I
guess,
just didn't win MVP.
right? I don't have Kevin Durant love. I just have Ed's love. So I guess apparently.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about when I was doing some research about you, I thought something was kind of interesting. You know, you had this really cool gig at RocNation, right? And then you just decided to bounce and do your own thing. And I was curious, like, talk to me about what motivated you to kind of get out there and just do something on your own.
Well, I mean, I think for me, it was like I didn't do really well in school because I didn't do well with accountability as a kid, you know, and timelines. And I felt very restricted in my dreaming, and I'm like always dreaming, and I don't feel motivated unless I know something that I'm chasing. And as a kid, I just tried different business and different journeys, and I was entrepreneurial, but I wasn't always getting anywhere. But I loved the process. And when I made the move to join Roc Nation, it was a no-brainer because I had the opportunity to learn and build a career for myself. And I had already built a network and had tried my hand at a few things and had gained some experience like in the real world as an entrepreneur, but I didn't have any true success. And when I went to Roc Nation, I grew up, like I really learned how to operate. But that thing inside of me was not going to go away that I'm just born with, which is like, I need to think that way. You know, some people like the security of being within an organization, most people, but I don't actually. I feel I can't function like that. So, you know, if it wasn't KD and I, at some point I would have had to explore the fact that like I needed to build something. But when I had the opportunity and Kevin was at a point in his life where he wanted the same thing, you know, that's just when timing in life becomes perfect. And, you know, but it was like, I couldn't have been where I'm at now without Roc Nation. So I had to go there, you know, and, you know, you don't get the opportunity to be next to someone that's like so transcendent and generationally dope as Jay-Z, and that run in my life was incredible, but I would have at some point had to do it.
Okay. So talk to me, based on that, talk to me about some of the ups and downs that you encountered while you were trying to, you know, follow your dream and chase that North Star.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still chasing it and I still have ups and downs, but I think that I honestly don't go, you know, I'm probably a bit too cliche, but I just never go too down. I never go too up. You know, I enjoy all of it. I'm a pretty much like a happy guy, and I'm an optimist. I enjoy life, even in like these dark months. So for me, it's like, because I'm living in that level of like just excited to be doing what I'm doing and loving my time doing this stuff. Like I have big goals. I want to dominate, but at the same time, like, the wins are exciting because I know we worked hard. The losses are exciting because I know I got to figure out how to do better, you know? And fortunately, I haven't had any major losses in this journey so far, but I also haven't had like what I consider to be where that North Star. So it's a fun ride.
Okay. All right. So speaking of, I mean, to do what you do, I mean, it takes a lot of hustle, right? And a work ethic that most people don't have. But one thing I do know, because apparently Kevin is such a big part of my family's family. He's pretty driven. And I wanted to know, like, how is it, like, how did that work, or how did you change when you started working with someone who's as driven as Kevin Durant?
Well, what it did was make me actually learn how that I wasn't working hard, you know, like, because it wasn't as much about the hours that you put in, or it wasn't as much about like did I love it, but what I realized about Kevin was the attention to detail. And it's no different than what I learned from Jay-Z. Like the work ethic, you could go 24/7, but it's about efficiency and it's about mastering what you're working on and honing your craft and actually figuring out where your weakness is and trying to get better at it, or why is something not working and trying to figure that out. That work ethic is something I didn't understand. And then I learned it with watching Kevin, because it was so clear that there was nothing that he could do that was going to say, oh, okay, yeah, now I'm good to chill. Like now I can relax. Like he was wired to continue to work and get better. And that doesn't mean doing it, like I said, every day of the week. It's just about always thinking about how to get better and get an advantage. And you know, that's where my work ethic lies, is like I have a good balance. I spend a lot of time with my young daughters. I spend a lot of time with my wife. I'm a family man, but I've been able to do something I love, like I said, so I can think about work. I can talk to my family about work. I can ideate with my friends because they're part of my life and my business sometimes, you know, so like I'm always thinking about it. So like it feels like I'm working all the time. But in reality, it's just because I love what I do. It's like I love being a part of all this. I'm watching football all day Sunday. I'm thinking about, like, I'm watching the commercials. I'm watching the content that's around it. I'm watching what's happening on social media. I'm looking and thinking of ideas. My brain's just always working like that. So, you know, for me, that's always working.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I
Does
guess
that
so.
sound nuts or what?
Dude, you know, I'll be like, breathe, woosah.
Yeah, but see, but
You
that's
know?
the thing. If I ever get too high or too low, then I'll have to do that too. But because I think I stay in this like relatively just, I'm good. Like I'm happy. I liked all this stuff. Then, you know, I don't feel like I need like, oh, I got to check out. You know, like when people are like, you ever just put your phone down and check out? It's like, yeah, I do it. Like I do it if I'm watching a show and I'm like, you know, I got to lock in now, or I want to take a few hours off because I felt like I didn't hear what my daughters were saying to me. And that shit makes me sick when I find myself like not hearing them, you know, because I'm that guy that's like not paying attention. So I know how to do that. So because I'm aware of it, I'm like, yeah, but I love working. So if I'm on vacation and everyone else is reading a book, or, you know, I'm not like I'm not in the ocean. It's not like I'm not doing things, but if they're sitting there reading a book, like I'm doing things on my phone that are work related. That's what I find the joy in, you know? So
Yeah.
that's my definition, I guess, of checking out. It's just being in the sun.
I hear you. All right. So let's switch gears and let's talk about let's talk about 35 Ventures. But before we do that, I was curious about something. What's your favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? I'd have to say Hoosiers.
Ah, okay. I can see that. I can feel it. That's a good movie. That's a good one.
It just had an impact on me different than other. Like I love other sports films, but that one really impacted me.
Okay. So now one thing about 35 Ventures is that it's so diverse. You know, it's not just one thing or the other. So I wanted to kind of break it down into different parts, if you don't mind. So let's start with the boardroom, because it feels to me that it's kind of like a flagship at part of things. And can you just kind of talk about what the boardroom is and what is the overall vision and media strategy behind it?
Yeah, I mean, we wanted to build our own digital media brand, and we wanted to be able to have a platform in which we could create content in all different forms. And we felt like there was a conversation around the business of sports that needed to be told, and in the way in which we saw it, and in the kind of unconventional way in which it's taken form. And you know, now we're operating no different than any other kind of digital media brand. We have original video series, we have podcasts, we have a newsletter, we have a college program, we have a trading card vertical, and we're relaunching the boardroom website next week. And you know, for me, this brand is something that, like, you know, we are not going to raise money for. I'm trying my hand at building this within the infrastructure of our overarching business and finding brands that want to invest into it. And I think ultimately I'd love to find a bigger media partner that sees the value in what we've built and allows us to live within their ecosystem but still do what we do, because I think this brand is really relevant, because it really like I said, like I needed this brand as a kid. You know, there's our routes into all of these entrepreneurial endeavors and these industries that are not how you believe all the time. There's indirect routes that you got to learn about, you know, real life things that I needed more than what I was learning in a book. So a lot of that all lives on this platform. And it's, it's just like a side of the sports business that, and all of business that I think is the way people want it to be communicated now. So, hopefully one day it's like our own Gen Z, Gen Z Forbes, maybe.
Mm-hmm. There's something interesting when you read the comments about the boardroom. Specifically, I'm talking about the podcast. There's a various group of people. I mean, you have like young people who are still in high school who are commenting. You have like people who are starting their own businesses, and then you have professional, like athletes and professionals who are listening to this podcast and commenting. I was curious. I mean, it seems to me that when you're looking at the boardroom, it's very much about, like you're saying, I mean, it is it's about the industry, the sports business, but it's so many lessons that you can learn. And I was curious, when you were thinking about this kind of long picture, did you really see it to be kind of all this media network that can serve so many different types of people and still give them good information that they can all take in?
Probably not. But in some ways, yes, right? Like I didn't consciously say that, but I do believe that the reason why there's a place for what we're building is because I do think that some of that like more relatable conversation and some of that like terminology in layman's terms, it relates to like the scary business world, is actually what all of us want to hear. It's what all of us want to read. There is a time to dive deeper into the minutia, and I think we do give really informative information. And is that even a word? Informative information, but it sounded good.
I like it.
But it makes sense because I think sports is the one common denominator. It ties everybody together, and now there's a part of sports that's infiltrated art. There's a part of sports that's infiltrated private equity and venture capital and music and fashion. So it's like, I do think that it can talk to a lot of people, but at the same time, it is a niche conversation. It's like there's elements that connect to a lot of people, but it is a niche conversation. But the group is diverse. And I'm glad you noticed that because, all these brands have to be built usually on like identifying the same core demo. Like we're 18 to 34, we're 24 to 38. And it's like, just people just say it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I guess that has to be right. Mm-hmm. Ultimately. But for me, I'm like, why? Because I have 20-year-olds that I'm talking to and relating to every day. I have people that I'm talking about music with and business with that are more insightful in their early 20s, that are more in touch with what's going on than people that are 45. I have nephews that are 19 at college and sports business world that could talk to me more on brand about music and business than friends of mine that in their mid 40s like me. So, it makes sense to me also that some of our content would connect to someone like me and then connect to like a 20-year-old that is also interested in this world.
Okay. So there was something, as I was doing my research, one thing you'll see that's kind of very common, how people write about you and your partner, Kevin Durant, is that you seem to always be in sync with what you want to accomplish. And I was just curious about that. Do you have similar business philosophies and similar aspirations, or is it a little bit of both, or how do you connect to make the business and do what you do in your company?
Well, because I know what my real job is first and foremost, which is Kevin's manager. And I understand the opportunity that I got and the platform I got from him to go after these things. So because I stay true to that always, we're in sync because the trust factor is so strong. Like he knows that my intentions are always to put him in the best light, to put him in the best position to succeed, to be happy, for his family to be happy. And he also gets inspired by, I think, my like just relentless passion for building this. And then there's times that he wants me to shut up, because he doesn't want to talk about business or he's focused. And I know exactly when to back off. And if he doesn't like something or his instinct about something is different than mine, we will talk about it and fight about it. And I'll usually defer to him or he'll understand. And we've never, ever, ever had bad energy after. It's not even maybe one time in 9-10 years where like we hung up, disagreed on some shit and like felt away like you would when you have like an awkward encounter. But then we laugh after because it's like we do both have this kind of relatively chill, like, come on, man, let's not like take this too seriously. Like, like we understand what's important in life. And I think that's important because, like, we said earlier on, if you're not having fun on this process too, then especially when Kevin's making the kind of money he makes just from playing ball and selling shoes, I got to make sure this is fun. He doesn't have to do all this. He's giving me this platform, so, we have to be aligned. And I think that it's good that people pick up on that because, I have to keep reminding myself and going to him for encouragement because, it's not natural for a manager and agent to have his own pod or be on the show or do podcasts with you. And, you need a very supportive partner who's okay with that. Because really, like, I'm here because of KD, but you open the door, I'm going to go in, bro. And he said it was okay to go in. So that's what I'm doing.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I wanted to start talking about some of the things that are under your marquee. You've got a lot of producer credits now. I mean, you've got the documentary A Kid from Coney Island and Cue Ball and Basketball County. And I just kind of want to know, like, and I'm sure you've heard this a million times, but I just wanted to get your take on the intersection between sports and culture. And more importantly, how do you find opportunities within that intersection?
Well, I'm lucky that with the amount of years I've been working in some facet of the entertainment business, I've been able to build up a great network and a great deal flow. And that is deals to invest in, films and TV shows to possibly make. And I have a lot of ideas, and Kevin has a lot of ideas. And because we are really focused on telling stories that are connect with us and that are quality, and that we focus on doing quality work. It's not necessarily about having to make money on every film. It's not necessarily about having to have the most out. It's about stories that are important to us. And if we can make them sellable to an audience, and can we make them something that we're proud of? So, I think that's like the first barometer. And then sports at this point, everything we do is rooted in sports. And the fortunate thing is that sports is so much mainstream conversation and at the root of so many different parts of, like, culture, in quotes, for we all, for a lack of a better term at this point, but knowing that everyone in that world for the most part is connecting with LeBron James or with Serena Williams or Naomi Osaka or Kevin Durant. Like, these are the biggest stars in the world. So, making content that is connected in the world of sports at this point, everyone wants to hear about. There's endless conversation. So, I think as long as we keep that lens on how we create these films and these docs, and just have, like Jimmy Iovine would say, blinders on, and just know we make good projects and we'll keep building them. And, that'll be the filter in which we always look at it. When you're not going to see us just like gratuitously involved with a project with our name on it just because it's a good look, because it's got to be something that, like, we believe is part of the bigger picture and represents the brand we're building.
All right. So I'm going to go a little serious on you. Kevin's response to the death of George Floyd was pretty powerful. And when he discussed, like, why the Black Lives Matter movement was so important. And I was wondering if you're willing to share what conversations did you two have after that moment? And more importantly, did you talk about making any changes or any kind of, like, plans for 35 Ventures to be a part of that conversation moving forward?
Well, I mean, our conversations I'll keep private because he's a more private guy. The work we've been doing, long before this summer. Kevin was born philanthropic. He was born with a giving heart. And when he was able to make money, it was the first thing he did. And he's done it his whole career. He's earned praise for it, and he's gone unnoticed in so many things that he's done by design because he doesn't like to talk about it. And I think people could believe that knowing him and seeing him. But, for us, like I said earlier on, during the pandemic, it wasn't even as much of like, okay, let's meet about this. Let's talk about it. It's such a part of what we do. And it's such a part of who we are in general, like never being afraid to consciously talk about what's going on, our differences, him and I, what I need to learn, what we can do, how we can help his community, how we can help other communities and how we can just be at the forefront of conversations, either creating a platform for conversation, and honestly, just like looking, for me at least, looking myself in the mirror, making sure that I'm teaching along the way my kids and doing my part. And I think that it wasn't, again, like, okay, what are we going to do right now in the moment, as much as like what are we going to like amplify on what we're working on, like who are we putting up to task to invest with us and create more opportunity with us, like who are we going to call on and who are we going to give money to. I mean, we're always very active, so it was more of just like, okay, we get it, like now's the time. We don't do all this work to not do the work now.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for that. Speaking of, since we're talking about this particular subject, you have a project in the works, Two Distant Strangers. How did you get involved in that project? And I was also surprised to read that you actually did a lot of shooting during COVID.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, so like I said, I'm lucky with the network that we have to have people that think of us when great projects are there, and they know that when we're connected to a film that we work hard, and that we are strategic in our thought and trying to make sure that the film that we work on gets brought to life. And when Samir, a producer on the film, brought me the project and told me about Trevon, and I got to read the script, I sent it to Kevin without any qualifier, and he said, as I believe, like, we got to figure out a way to get involved with this. Knowing that they were going to make this truly independent and in a short time frame, and I mean, to do it during COVID and to do it with the safety precautions that we had in place and the quality that they were able to pull off was incredible. And the timing, like you asked in the previous question, that film comes to us, and that's how things work in some ways. And making sure that film was made and being able to help that film come to life was part of our responsibility. So I think that was, beyond the script, what made it so incredible. And Trevon was so impressive. Trayvon was so impressive. And it was just an honor to be a part of the film.
I can't wait to see it. I cannot wait to see it. I love the premise. And I'm wondering how it ends, but I guess I'll have to wait. But you also have another a scripted series. Let's talk about Swagger. Now, this is like your first scripted series offering, and it looks like you're already cast up and ready to go. So, can you talk to me a little bit about Swagger? I hear it was based kind of loosely on Kevin's upbringing.
Yeah, it's loosely based on Kevin's upbringing in Sea Pleasant, Maryland, and his AAU experiences and kind of the world within the world of youth basketball. And, a show that I obsessed over was Friday Night Lights. And we were at Google Camp a few years ago. We were able to meet Brian Grazer. And obviously he brought Friday Night Lights to the world and connected on this right away and envisioned it the same way. And it was like those special moments where like you're saying it at the same time. And and I think part of being a good entrepreneur is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. And at that point in our business, we didn't have the infrastructure to be the production company on the project. And this is a major scripted series, a different size budget, and Imagine is the best. So, and premium, and having their brand associated, it was a win for us alone. And then to be able to partner with them and watch how they maneuver and then, come together and bring it to Apple, another of the most premium brands in the world, like really special company we're in. And, we're really playing our part as EPs, helping where we can, talking to cast, talking to crew, talking to director, talking to networks, where being, and making sure that, we can help however we can. The director's incredible. I really think people are going to love this. I'm hoping this is one of those, special family series that everyone, similar, like we were saying about the comments on the pod, but on a much bigger level where like, you and your kids can watch this together.
Yeah. I think when I was reading some of the synopsis, the idea of the different characters, especially about the mom, I think is kind of a universal thing that we hear a lot in communities, right? So yeah. I'm curious to see how it all comes out. I'm looking forward to it. But I'm really, really, really excited about Blackball. I mean, what can you tell me about this project?
Man, well, Blackball, man, I didn't even know about it. Wow. Well, there's not much to tell there.
Okay.
To be quite honest with you, but because you've done your investigative reporting, I'm going to make sure that you're one of the first people I do tell about it. But it is another in the line of like in sports stories that, pull on something in Kevin and my emotions, and something that we feel like is important to tell, and something I also think that, has that nostalgic element to it, and also just the impact that like a great sports doc does. And that's really like an innocuous description of nothing, but trust me on this one.
That was a good answer. It was a good answer. I'm still riveted. I can't wait to see this. I kind of want to go back to just about all the work that you do, and I wanted to just kind of highlight just how I think is amazing. Your hands are in everything, and you do so much stuff. I mean, just good stuff too. But I found it really interesting that you're like, the two of you are so heavily involved in like startups and non-sports related investments. I mean, you have over 30, you're into like 30 or more different investments in different ways, shapes, or forms, not even including the foundation. So I just wanted to like talk to you, like, how did you decide, and how did you and Kevin decide to kind of divest so much, and how do you feel about that now? I mean, I think I read one article where you said because you were the proximity when he was at Golden State, that you were able to kind of jump into the tech world and start doing some startup investing. But when you really look at your portfolio now, it's so vast and it's so many different things. You touch so many different industries. And I was just kind of curious about that. When you look at 35 Ventures, there's one part of me that sees you as, oh yeah, they produce content. That's fine. And then you see this other part and it's like, oh yeah, he's got part of Postmates. And and I was just kind of curious about that. Talk to me about that part of the business.
I mean, I think Kevin and I are both interested in so many things and really fascinated by how successful people that are the best at what they do are. And we went to Silicon Valley. These are, some of the best minds in all of business. We were able to meet people that were running some of the biggest venture capital firms, founders of some of the biggest social media platforms and different business. And starting to hear about it, I got interested, and Kevin got interested in the investing side of things. But we weren't going to just jump into it or lend a name or, just jump in a deal because someone told us it was the right deal. But we just started taking dinners with people and asking questions. And we quickly realized that like we had a knack for it, or so we thought, or so we think, and that we know the space in which we're good at. We're not writing insane check sizes. We're in early stage investors. We are good at, talking to founders, I believe, and understanding if it's something that we can connect to, if it's something we understand, if it's something that we think that whether we can work public facing and selling it or work behind the scenes, just conceptually have to really wrap our head around it and make sure that we get the business, fully get the business. And then if we connect with the founders and we believe in who they are and their energy, and then we'll put these companies through a bit more of a due diligence from a financial side. But really, like, these are spaces that allowed us to learn from and build from and use these companies and these incredible opportunities to invest in these companies, not just a way to make money, but like to build our network, to continue to have people in financial tech, people in media, people in data storage, people in on-demand food ordering. And now these people are in our network. They could potentially create content with us. They can, invest in our foundation. They can collaborate on the boardroom. We've had founders of companies that we've had in our portfolio that have come on our shows. So, it was a way to create business. It was a way to make money. It was a way to learn. And it also really triggered a lot of what we were doing on the charitable side because of just a lot of the great work that so many people in Silicon Valley were doing. It also, I think made us focus. Ron Conway, an angel investor, like an iconic angel investor, connected us with Laureen Jobs and really put the pressure on us about what we were doing back in Kevin's hometown. We ended up bringing a college track program there. So, it's investing in one hand, but it was really about a network that we built.
Okay. I did find it interesting that a lot of some of the investments that I did see are very financially based. And when I think about the boardroom and the business part of it, there's always this idea of growth. It feels to me like, I don't know what conversations you guys have, but it feels like there's almost this need to teach people how to be, fiscally responsible, how to grow wealth, how to develop yourself in this space. And I was just curious, am I on track with something? Is that something that you guys are passionate about, or where are you with that part of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, Kevin has a passion for bringing all the incredible luxuries and resources that have been available to him that he did not have growing up, that still don't exist in his inner city, in his community. He grew up in inner cities all around the country and the world, but to be able to bring conversation and a certain sense of like, yes, you can give kids access to basketball courts, but you're not going to get Kevin Durant out of all of them. You're not ever. But being able to give these kids the opportunity to learn about coding, to learn about business, learn how to balance a checkbook, learn how to speak confidently, learn how to speak up, learn how to act, be an activist, learn how to dream, and I think that for us, part of that is like knowing how to deal with your money and knowing how to get outside of what people believe are the only ways out of certain circumstances. So, if our content can lend a little bit of that and our work in the community can do that, then, obviously that's really important to us. I don't know if our content necessarily is we're not setting out necessarily to be the arbiter of all on, in business clearly, or in sports business, but what we are having is like a very relatable, open, real look inside it. And the conversation is way less daunting this way.
Yeah, I love the fact and the format of both your podcasts, by the way, is that it is so informal, but it's so informative. Why did you decide to do it in that way?
Really the only way I know how to do it. I actually wish I knew
the easiest answer ever.
Yeah, but I wish I knew how to script myself a bit more. I wish I knew how to produce myself a bit more. It probably would be better. I probably miss out on some moments by not, but what I do think I get is a comfort level with the guests by doing it that way. And again, it's really the only way I know how.
Yeah. I mean, people open up and I just love it. I love the conversations. They feel, you always walk away with something. Always.
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Absolutely. So my final question for you, I had just read that Andrew Cuomo may be considering legalizing mobile sports betting as a means to recoup some of the losses from the pandemic. And I know that you were a bookie in college, and I wanted to know what you thought about the idea. And if possible, with 35 Ventures, kind of ante up for a seat at the table.
Well, I definitely believe New York should legalize gambling. I definitely am excited for it. I would love to be able to work in the gaming space more. I don't know what 35 Ventures would do. I believe we would be investors in that space if we could be in the gaming space. We have done a lot in the fantasy space. And while Kevin's playing, though, we would, probably be a bit more careful and cognizant of it. But I love that rush and energy I'm not even running from it. I think the part of being a bookie that I loved was obviously the sports side and like winning, but it was a business. That was what it was. And if gambling becomes legal in New York and continues to drop the stigma more and more, the rush of that business is still very exciting for me. So I definitely would try to find ways to work together. My brother works at FanDuel.
Oh, okay. All right. And look, they make their money. They make their money.
Yes, they do.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we have, but I did have something. So is Kevin still interested in being in front of the camera? Because you don't see him in front of the camera that much anymore. Yeah.
Look, he definitely is interested when it's appropriate. He loves doing his podcast. When it's right, we do a commercial like the Degree commercial that's out now. Mm-hmm. But he's much more deliberate. It's less is more with him.
Okay. I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll make sure I let my mom know that. You'll see him and come, whenever.
Yeah, tell mom don't worry. Soon come.
Well, Rich, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed talking with you. And good luck with all of these projects. I already told you, I'm already excited about some of these. So I can't wait to hear all the great things and successes that come from them.
Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Rich Kleiman of 35 Ventures discussing his partnership with Kevin Durant and their upcoming projects. Now, you can learn more about 35 Ventures by visiting their website, but I encourage you to check out Rich's podcast, The Boardroom Out of Office, and Kevin's podcast, The Etceteras with Kevin Durant. Both are informative, entertaining, and empowering. And you can find them on all your podcast services or on their website underneath The Boardroom. And that's our show. Thanks again to Rich Kleiman for participating in this interview. Now, AFCA members curated their own list of the best movies, television shows, and performances of 2020. And you can check them out by visiting the AFCA channel on YouTube. And be sure to like and subscribe while you're there. So until next time, keep your head up.